How's it going, guys? I'm Jonathan Allen with Prodigal Outdoors, and today we're going to be making what I consider the perfect hunting knife, which looks like this. When we're done making it, I'm going to show you guys some footage of me actually using it in the field so you can see how the knife actually performs, and then we're going to go over a few different reasons on why I feel the way I do and why I think this is the perfect design for someone that's actually looking for a user knife if they're going on a hunt. All right, let's get started. All right, guys, so now that we've got our knife forged roughly to the shape that we're after, we're gonna give this some time to cool down before taking it to the grinder where we can really start to refine the shape that we're after. And then once we've got everything flat and shaped like we want it to be, we can start to grind in our bevels for the actual edge of the knife, and it'll start to really come together. Okay, so you can see that we've got this knife all nice and smooth now. We've ground everything flat. So we're ready to grind our bevels in. But something I wanted to point out to you guys really fast before we do that is, this was a piece of steel that used to be really big. And you guys watch me draw it out and change the shape. And so there's a lot of tension in this steel right now. Grinding it flat, constantly putting it in water, taking it from hot to cold, forging out the steel into this shape. There's a whole lot of tension in the actual steel itself at the moment. So one step between grinding in our knife edge bevels and where we're at now is I'm gonna throw it back in the forge, and we're gonna let that steel have time to just soak in that heat and just acclimate again and soften up. Take it through one round of thermal cycling before we actually grind our bevels, just to make sure we don't run into any issues, and we can go from there without having to worry about running into any cracking later. All right, so now that we've thermal cycled the knife and it's had enough time to cool down, we're gonna take it back to the grinder, we're gonna grind in our edge bevels, and we're also gonna go ahead and drill the tang for our handle pits. Y'all, so we're back one day later, and today I've got my shop buddy with me. Can you say hey? So, as you can see, we've added the bevels to the edge. Everything's been ground to its rough shape, and it's close enough now that we're gonna actually go ahead and harden this steel. So before we do that, we're gonna add my maker's mark, then we're gonna bring it up to temp, harden it with a quench, and take it through 2 rounds of tempering, just to make sure that this can be maximized to its full potential and can be used as a functional knife. So that's the plan for today, and we're gonna get to it. All right, so the knife survived the quench. Right now it's really, really hot. So we're gonna let it cool, put it through a temper cycle twice, just to bring some toughness back to that edge. And then we'll be ready to do the finish grind work and put on the handle. Okay, so at this point, we've taken what started as a small block of steel and forged it out and ground it out and now finished it to where it's actually starting to look like a knife. I've hand sanded this out to about 400 grit, which is gonna be enough for what I'm trying to do, because at this point, we're actually gonna stone wash the blade. One of the reasons that I like a stone washed finish on a user heavy knife is because it's already sort of a satin, sort of roughed up look that looks really nice, but you're not afraid to get it scratched up because it kind of already is. So I'm gonna stone wash this blade, and then we're gonna be ready for our glue up on the handle. All right, y'all, so if you made it this far, all that's left is to go over why I called this the perfect hunting knife. And the reason for it is honestly, pretty simple. If you look at the general shape and design, there's really nothing fancy about this knife. It falls right in the 7 to 8 inch range as far as overall length. It's just a single edge, drop point, 3.5 inch blade, nothing fancy. But honestly, the fact that it's not fancy is part of what makes this knife so useful. If you were gonna go on a backcountry hunt, or if you were gonna go somewhere and all you could do is take one tool with you, you're trying to minimize what all you're gonna have in your pack, what you're gonna have to keep up with. The truth is, you're better off going with a tool that you can use for multiple functions. And in this case, there is no gut hook, there's no recurve or serration or anything like that on this knife. And if you pay attention to anybody in the knife making industry who makes knives for hunting purposes, every single company will have something that looks similar to this. And the reason for that is you can use it to cook with, you can use it for camping tasks, as well as anytime you're gonna need it in the field to dress an animal. So the reason I call this the perfect hunting knife is because it's the only tool I have to keep up with if I'm gonna be out in the field. And for me personally, that's a good thing. Doesn't mean it's for everybody. I'm a low maintenance kind of guy. I don't need a lot of features. I just need the tool to perform once I'm gonna need it. So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. You pooted on me. Uh-huh. All right, let's do it. The river has what?
The river has mermaids.
The river has mermaids?
Yep.
Are they like redneck mermaids?
No, just fly mermaids.
You sure? Well, they probably have southern accents if they're in the river, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Daddy, just don't hit me.
I know, but you gotta wear them, okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.